And where does the sound D come in the word daddy? Yeah. Those are the kinds of things that train their ears, make them think about where am I hearing that sound? Essential precursor to spelling. Because, you know, if you're spelling bad, it's not BDA. It's not DAB. It has to be BAD. So you can see that the position of the sound is essential. Then you leave out something and say, oh, I'm going to be so tricky. When I was doing this with my children, we had a 30-minute trip to Forest Lake every morning and every afternoon. So I'd make sure there was food, feed them first, and then we'd do at least 5 minutes of this kind of game. And that it helped a lot, depending whether you would have to gauge it. Are they going to be most productive in the morning or the afternoon? And it was varied for different ones. But these are the kinds of things that just help them to see that letters and sounds, where they are, what they say, make a difference. Leaving out a sound. Okay, I've said the word bug. I'm now going to leave out a sound. You tell me what the sound was. Ugh. What sound did I leave out? And where was it? At the beginning. Training them to hear it. And then you could leave out a sound at the end. Hard to leave out a sound in the middle. Making substitutions. I said the word cat, and then I said the word mat. What was different? And they have to think about, okay, the first sound was different. It was a k, and then it became a m. All of those things are so vital for their understanding of what reading is. So rhyming games, doing all of those kinds of letters and sounds games, all of those help hugely. We're training eyes to see, and we're training ears to hear. That's the foundational part of reading. Just look at the clock. In Year 1, there's also, as there is in Prep, but even more so in Year 1, are sight words. Oh, sorry. Everybody know what the little numbers mean on top of the letters? Now we do. It really is just the second or the third or fourth or fifth or sixth sound of the letter. I won't make you all, have you all learned A yet? Oh, very good. Astonishingly, once it's there, it's always there. We've had the pleasure of teachers who were here in children who were here in Year 1 come back and be teachers. And they still remembered all their letters and sounds, so that was really exceptional. Year 1 sight words become more and more important because it increases fluency. They're not having to sound out every word. And the English language is so easy, isn't it? You know, you could have a word like said. It's all spelled said. S-E-D. S-E-D. No, of course not. It's A-I. But the A-I is not saying A. It's saying E. And those kinds of inconsistencies are rampant throughout the English language. And it does make reading difficult for our children. And so that's why we work on sight words where we can recognise them visually, very quickly, and that assists us in our fluency in our reading. Because if they're sounding out every word, they're missing the meaning of the sentence or the phrase. And then married phonograms are simply just the 2 and 3 letters together that combine to make a sound. And most of it might look quite complicated. It's not really. It's really just a case of realising those 2 letters work together. How do we know they work together? We put a line underneath. You know, so AI says A in the middle of a word. AY says A at the end of the word. If you can read, you can actually work out what those married phonograms are. It's not complicated, and we've tried to limit it so that we're doing some in Year 1, some in Year 2, and some in Year 3. And the 2s and 3s do a lot of revision of what they've already learnt in the previous year. Again, automatic recall makes a huge difference if they actually know this. We do it 2 ways. So we hold up the flashcards. AI says A. The other thing we do is to do a fancy word, a phonodictation, which means we would say what makes the sound A, 2-letter A in the middle of the word. And if they can write down AI, that's wonderful evidence that for today anyway, that has been cemented in their mind. So coming at it from a visual perspective, coming at it from a hearing perspective. enables them to then sound out harder words, because you have, a word like teacher, for example, has it right on the board. We just took a 7-letter word and condensed it down into 4 sounds, because they have learned that EA says E-A, CH says ch-kush, and ER says So we now just sound it out, t-e-ch-er. And when they're writing their spelling, they will invent that. And sometimes the approximation will be close. They might write T-E-E-C-H-E-R. That is a great approximation, and then we just refine that a little bit. But if they were having to sound out all 7 letters, it's a lot more complicated for them.
What if they decide on the k sound at the end of that word? Do you encourage them to have a go at that, see what it sounds like?
Yes.
It's wrong, try again.
Yeah. If it was going to have the k sound, it would have a number 2 on top.
I'm thinking later in life.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
When they don't have numbers above.
See,
mine's still struggling a bit. But,
yeah. The numbers and the lines are absolutely there as a support, and you use them for as long as you need to. There comes a point where they stop using them. I am encouraging the upper school to use these more. They're not as au fait with their letters and sounds as the lower school, and you will have noticed some of our lower school teachers have gone up to upper school, and that's part of my process there, is because this is a great tool for spelling, for learning how to spell any word, any new word that they're not comfortable with. So that would hopefully assist them to think, okay, which sound of that is that? Ch-kush. And then of course, there is a lot of approximation and trial and error, which is a part of reading. Building their vocabulary. Encouraging them to read. Sometimes we don't actually have to encourage them to read hard books. We actually need to encourage them to read easier books that they are enjoying, because they're developing vocabulary. They're actually developing concepts and understanding about them. Our boys will automatically go towards a non-fiction book because they love the facts. My son used to take the encyclopedias into the toilet and the Guinness World Book of Records, so I wasn't quite sure what good that was going to be, but it was entertaining nevertheless. Because facts, boys and facts go together, not as a, I'm not pigeonholing people, but girls tend to prefer fiction, because then imagination and creativity and princesses and, all those kinds of things become a part of that process. But you can see they would both develop very different vocabularies. And so you do need to get them to cross over. And I know the library are a bit strict sometimes, because they kind of intentionally say to the children, please take out, to the boys, one non-fiction and one fiction, and similarly to the girls, trying to expose them to both those sides because they need that vocabulary that they're going to get. And if you could continue to do that, that would be wonderful at home, because it will increase comprehension, and it will absolutely assist them with their reading. Time's going too fast. Year 2, again, so much more consolidation taking place. The focus here is fluency and expression, because if they can read fluently, they're not wasting time and not losing track. And so that if they can read fluently, their comprehension will continue to improve. If they're having to stop and think about it, then they're going to miss the important parts of the sentence. And so they will have to go back and reread. Going back and reading is a very good reading strategy. Don't stop them from doing that. Looking at pictures in books is an excellent way to develop knowledge about what the words are actually saying. I won't ask you to put your hand up to who covers up the pictures. Please don't cover up the pictures. Even if you think they're not reading, they're only looking at the pictures, they're actually developing a really important reading strategy, because they'll understand those words because of information they gleaned out of the pictures. They will spend a lot longer on the same level, because now to be on level 22 or something is actually 12 months of a reading age. So they may spend 6 months, 12 months, 18 months on the same reading level. Don't be dismayed by that. That's actually quite normal. remembering that level 30, I think, is a 12-year-old reading age. And many of our kids in year 3 are, between level 25 and 28. We're talking, a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old reading age. That's exceptional. The level is not the issue. The comprehension is the issue. The more you can ask, why is that? What do you think should happen? Why did that happen? Not just about, who did it, but why did they do it? You can see they're having to think about and make some inferences, even though it's not actually written in the book. It's, if Bob shut the door, who shut the door? Bob did. What did he shut? He shut the door. All of that information is contained in the text. The minute you go, why did he shut the door? Do you think he shut it loudly? Do you think he shut it quietly? Maybe he was sneaking out of the house. Then he would have shut it quietly. All of that conversation taking place about why is creating thinking. So, of course, you've got your list of questions all organised for any book that they read. And then year 3 continues along the same vein. Year 2 and 3 really are our consolidation years. They still revise their sounds, their married phonograms, their sight words. It's probably less and less relied upon, but if the child is needing it, please don't stop them using it. All they're saying to you is, I just need this scaffold for a little bit longer. And if it's giving them confidence, that's essential. Confidence leads to risk-taking. Because sometimes what happens is they're worried about being wrong, and so they won't risk-take. And that's a bit sad, because then they won't try something. If they don't try, they might be right. But because they were hesitant and concerned about being right or wrong, then they don't try. So allow them as much scaffolding as they need to be able to gain that confidence. I'll have to stop now. Questions, just on the Peter 3 bit before Annette comes. I've bamboozled you, haven't I? We will put this PowerPoint up on, and this glorious video, God bless you, Mrs. Pray, up on C3B, because you might want to go back through it. You may have other questions. Please don't hesitate to speak to your class teacher.
I might have one question.
Sure.
What if your child, at times with words, say that word teacher, they have a knack of learning its teacher without thinking, oh, that's the second sound of CH. Is the goal really that they just learn its teacher, or should you be stopping and perhaps revising the sounds with it?
I think do both. They're obviously very strong in their visual memory, but they are going to come across words later on where they may not know how to work it out. You can see they may need to come back to some of these strategies to be able to work out a more complicated word later on. I would do both, and I would, I think use your judgment when you need to. If they've got that strong visual memory and they continue to do a lot of reading, they will be building up that bank automatically. Good question.
How do you help a child who has a lot of reversal problems, so can't differentiate between on and no and put and but?
What year level?
You want?
Common.
Yeah.
Common, frustrating, but common. Sometimes that's a visual memory training thing that has to happen. So don't be quick to think, oh, that's dyslexia.
Yeah.
No, there would be lots and lots of other signs if it was. Don't rule that out, because if you're seeing it, in time to come, dyslexia is such a wide range of categories. That's one very minor one of them. When I would be making on and no visually different. So with the no, you could have like a grumpy face on the O. I'm a visual learner, so I always go back to that, sorry. So if you've got this on they're going to remember that.
Yeah.
If you've got on, that's meant to be a table, just in case you're wondering. My fantastic artwork. They're going to remember that. It's just a visual kind of reminder like that.